Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the show. Hope you guys had a great week. Hope you guys are washing your hands and staying clean and staying positive, because that's all we got in this shit world is positivity. On today's show, I have the great actor and comedian, Mr. Brian Scolaro, who's patiently waiting in my virtual green room. So I'm going to bring him in right now, and we're going to get to talking to him. We're going to find out some great stuff. He's got a great book out. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about his rise into being a great stand-up. So let's bring him in.
And fall, you got rise, but you forgot the fall. I'm currently halfway through the fall.
I think we all are at this point, right?
The worst, dude. The worst. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How about you? You look great.
That's because I'm faking it.
Me too.
It's a horrible day. Horrible. But how are you? What's going on? I'm fascinated by your job, by the way.
Oh, yeah. My dad. I was born in Massapequa, Long Island, okay. and then when I was about 5 or so, we moved to Rochester, New York.
Right.
And my dad worked for Kodak for years, and that's what brought us out here in summer of '97. They relocated him out here. Huh. So after I graduated high school in '98, he's like, "What are you going to go to school, or do you want to make some money? Because I could get you a job working at a film lab, developing film."
Right.
So, I was in the dark room hanging the reels, big reels of film and stuff. So I did that for a while, and then it's just, it's been my career, So
I think it's fascinating. Like, my father passed away this year, but we're a big fan. I grew up watching old movies with him. That's what we did. Like, I grew up knowing who the Marx Brothers were, and nobody in my neighborhood knew except for me. I went as Harpo Marx for Halloween, and nobody knew who the hell I was. So my father would have been fascinated by your job, and that's great that you were recording old Chaplin movies. It's great.
Yeah, we're doing that. We did a lot of old boxing, so fucking Jack Dempsey, all that stuff. I mean, way back, right. Max Schmeling, So we've done a lot of cool stuff.
I always thought the sport boxing sounds like it should be just like trying to put the opponent in a box. You know what I mean? Like, you're wrestling, you put him in a box, and you try to keep him down while you tape it shut. That
reminds me of the SNL sketch. I think it was Will Ferrell. It was instead of a workout machine, they deliver a gorilla in a box.
That's fine.
And you let it out or something, and it's like wrestling him around the living room.
Oh, that's funny. I never even heard of that skit. That's funny.
Yeah, but so what's good with you, man? What do you got going on? I know you got a book. I got it up there in the corner.
Yeah, I'm selling this book, How to Punch a Monkey. It's on Amazon. You just type in the words "How to Punch a Monkey."
Great title.
I know all of your listeners or viewers are like, I'm not going to do that. Please, would you fucking do it?
I'm going to buy one right when I get off the phone.
I want to eat. It's just I haven't worked since March, but I always liked George Carlin's book, Brain Droppings. Like, it's a perfect bathroom book. I leave it next to my toilet, and when I sit and I make poops, I flip through it. I read about 2 pages, clean up, leave, and that's what this book is. It's like they're all like little bits. And it's just a lot of my old stand-up back to my newer stand-up back, stand-up jokes I never told before, some skits. It's just a little bathroom read, and I'm really happy with it, So
that's awesome. I'm going to pick up a copy right when I get off with you.
Please do.
Because like I said, man, I mean, I met you, I think 2 or 3 times at the store.
Okay.
Maybe like 3 years ago or something. I think my timing could be off on that, but I used to hang out at the Comedy Store a lot because a good friend of mine used to work the phones there.
Okay.
And so I would, he'd put me on the list, and I would check out stand up, all night pretty much. But and I started doing stand up myself. It's actually kind of funny. I started in 2008. and I did it for like 3 months, and I was like, I'm going to be an actor. So I stopped doing it, and I fucking wish I stayed with it because I would have had so much time vested in it, and I probably would have been better. So now on this run, I have 2 years in, but I have not been on stage since March 4th.
Yeah. Me too. March 5th for me. I've done a couple of Zoom shows. It's just I can't advise you either way. People do stand up because they're driven by it, or some people do it for a hobby. Some people do it for fun. Some people use it as a stepping stone. So a lot of people do it now because their careers have failed or are on the downslope, so they turn to stand up, and it kind of sucks sometimes when a celebrity actor just all of a sudden does stand up. And you lose this. If every club has 52 weeks a year, then some comic lost his job because the guy from Entourage wanted to do stand-up, you know?
I was just going to say, are you talking about somebody who rhymes with Schmermy Schmivin?
Well, I don't dislike the guy. I've always liked his acting, but I'm always like, another one. You know? I liked it in Grosse Pointe Blank and One Crazy Summer.
Yes.
He's got that great part in One Crazy Summer where he goes, a dolphin with rabies. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't understand why somebody would go back. I mean, in some way, people think that's going backwards.
Well, it's like if my brother always pointed out that very few actors work more than 10 to 15 years. There's the Jack Nicholson, there's the Meryl Streep, there's the Nero Pacino, Bill Murray, Robin Williams, Bruce Willis, but really, most actors work for 10 to 15 years, and then maybe later on they get a 5-year resurgence like Alan Arkin or Jackie Earle Haley, but really they just work for 10 to 15 years. So when that ends, you're like, okay, do I get a regular job or do I continue working in entertainment? And so stand-up is attractive that way because you're your own boss, you know? So yeah. I get it. Just, who knows? I just farted.
So let's get into how did you get into stand up? When was how old were you when you first started?
I was a freshman in college. I always wanted to be a comedic actor. You know, growing up watching Laurel and Hardy and Abbott Costello, Marx Brothers, and John Belushi, I wanted to act, do comedic acting. Tim Conway was a big inspiration for me. And then I then at some point, I always loved George Carlin. One year I saw George Carlin perform live at the Westbury Music Fair in Long Island. And the same year, I saw Bill Cosby perform at Harrah's in Atlantic City. And I was blown away by both of them. And then I watched them both on HBO that year. George Carlin's special, Playing With Your Head, and Bill Cosby himself was on back to back. And I was completely fascinated by stand-up. And then, as with every aspect of my life is driven by insecurity and jealousy. So I wanted to get on TV to make every girl who turned me down angry. You know, and the reason I started stand-up was that this kid from my high school, who wasn't necessarily funny, did a stand-up show. And he called me to tell me about it. So then I just went and did it myself and made a career of it. And now he doesn't talk to me anymore. But it's pretty much what I was like, I'm funny to that guy, and I just went and did it, you know. So pretty much every aspect of my life is driven by insecurity or jealousy or envy.
Well, that's the makings of a good comic. I think everybody kind of has that a little bit, you know.
I think the aspects have changed. The reason I do entertainment has changed. First, it was like, hey, look at me, and then it became, hey, this is fun, and then it became, hey, this is a job. This is, hey, and then at some point it's just a love. Like I always liked. You ever see the movie Big Night?
No.
It's Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub. They're brothers who own a restaurant.
You know what? No, I did not see that movie, but I know what you're talking about. The title rang a bell, and once you mentioned both of them, I do know what you're talking about. But no, I did not see it.
This isn't really ruining it for you because it came out like 20 years ago. But the whole aspect of the movie is the brother Stanley Tucci wants to improve the restaurant. He finds that he gets Louis Prima to come to the restaurant, makes the brother cook big dishes, invites over all these people, and then it turns out they were just tricked and Louis Prima's not coming. And they get in big arguments. They get in a giant argument. They hate each other. The next morning they wake up and there's this one long shot that ends the movie where it's just they both wake up and they cook eggs and they sit down and eat eggs. And that's pretty much what it's become for me. It's just like the love of making people laugh. Like after being paid to make 1,000 people, 800 people laugh, what makes me the most happy is making a clerk at 7-Eleven laugh. Because they don't see it coming, they don't expect it. And when I make them laugh, I leave. And it just makes me happy. So it's back to the original joy of it. Just sit down and make the eggs, But so the aspects of it have changed.
Right.
The reason for it has changed.
What club was it that you first got passed at? Was it like Catch a Rising Star, or was it the Comedy Cellar?
The first club, I had this plan. I knew right away that I had to get in more than one club. A lot of comics will get in one club and just stop, like in New York. But there's like 15 clubs there. So I got passed at Gotham Comedy Club and Stand Up New York. And then I got passed at Boston Comedy Club, which is no longer around. And then from Boston Comedy Club, I got the Comedy Cellar, and that became my home club. That's the club that developed me, I think.
The Cellar?
Yeah. She put me on at like midnight all the time, and I had to be edgier. And so I think my career developed out of that. And now I kind of wish I had stayed clean because I'd get a lot more work, If you stay clean, you can get a dry bar special, you can work cruises, you can do more television. But I developed watching George Carlin and performing at midnight, so my career went that way. Yeah.
Now, are you a paid regular at the store out here?
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen? When did you make?
I did a show called Late Friday, which was Friday Night Videos. Remember Friday Night Videos?
Yes.
So
no, I remember that.
When that got canceled, they made it Late Friday, and I did a show. I did one episode, and I performed. They put me first, which is ridiculous. Let's take the guy who curses and put him first. But Dom Herrera was hosting. And then I went to the store, and Dom Herrera was there, and I asked him if he volunteered to recommend me. And I'll never forget, I was standing quietly. All these comics were talking to each other, and Dom said, "This guy's funny. You can tell he's funny because he's just quiet." And that always stuck with me. Like, he was basically saying, you guys all talk a big game, but this guy's quiet, and he knows. Like, it was great. He recommended me. And Mitzi, before she, got sick, passed me. And she was like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "New York." She was like, "I can tell." She was like, "Calling for your Vels." And I was like, "Thanks." It was, I'd already played the Cellar for years. So, I knew how to work a small room, But, so, yeah, I guess that was 2003. But then they had a booker, the guy they wound up firing who was stealing from the club. I'm sure you heard of that.
Yeah.
That guy refused to book me. I was on television. I was on an NBC sitcom, and he refused to book me because he never saw me act. He saw me at like 1 a.m. and judged off of that. And I remember sitting in the kitchen. It's really funny. I was sitting in the kitchen with Mark Maron. And at the time, Mark Maron hadn't done What the Fuck podcast yet. And Mark and I were sitting in the kitchen, and the booker walked by. And for everybody who doesn't know, the Mitzi Shore lived in a house, like a big house right above the right on a cliff.
Crest Hill.
Yeah. So the booker walks by, and Mark goes, "Why are Brian Scolaro and I at 1 a.m.? Why don't you put us on at 9 or 10?" And the guy, the booker was like, "Well, Mitzi thinks you guys are edgy, and that energy goes later." And Mark goes, "Do you really expect us to believe that Mitzi's still booking this room? Do you really expect us to believe that it's not like the Psycho House? You're not putting on a dress and doing the lineup in the house?" And I laughed right in his face because it was so funny. And I didn't get booked for another 2 years after that. But but the new booker, Adam Egat, was a manager there. And he was like, "You're really funny. I don't know why they don't play it." And the minute they fired the booker and hired Adam, he gave me like 2 spots a week, and I was there all the time. So it's my home club in LA. The Cellar is my home club in New York. Store is my home club in LA.
What do you think's a tougher place to play? I mean, I'm sure it's probably different in some ways.
I don't know. To me, they're not tough because I know the rooms very well. Sure, you might get a drunk audience, but it'll fuck everything up. Here's a great story for you. 1997 or 8. I'm at the Comedy Cellar, Chris Rock goes on stage, and there's this white kid in a suit in the front row, heckling. But Chris Rock's just talking over him. So I was like, well, if that guy talks to me, I'm going to do what Chris Rock did and just talk over him. So I go up and I just talk over the guy. He doesn't fuck my flow up at all. But he keeps trying to interrupt, and I keep talking over him. Then I go upstairs. Sherrod Small was the comic who goes on next. There's a little TV in the bar that shows you what's going on downstairs. So we're all in the bar talking, and we look up, and we see Sherrod on stage like this and people running around. So I go downstairs to see what happened. Apparently, 2 Italian kids got tired of the white kid in the suit heckling, and they got up and smashed a beer mug over his head.
Oh, shit.
So mayhem breaks out. I see cops pull up, and they're taking the 2 Italian kids and they put them in the back of the cop car. And then the kid in the suit comes out, covered in blood, and he goes, I'm going to sue this place. I'm suing the seller. I'm suing you. I'm suing the ambulance. And he goes, I'm an innocent bystander. And then I looked at him. I was like, well, you weren't that innocent. And his face went blank. Like, why is the guy I liked insulting me? You know? And then the next day, I get a phone call from my mother saying, were you there last night? I go, what are you talking about? She's like, Donald Trump's son was attacked at the cellar.
Get the fuck out of here.
And I go, what? And I look at the New York Post, and the front page is Donald Trump Jr. in a beer bash at the cellar. And then Trump says, I'm going to sue the cellar. I'm going to call Chris Rock in as a witness. He plays my casinos. And he's like, I'm going to sue this place. Front page. And I show up to work that night. Naively, I'm brand new. And Manny Dwarman, the owner of the Comedy Cellar, I love the guy. He was brilliant. And I walked up to him, and he was sitting at the table with, I want to say, Rich Voss and Colin Quinn and maybe Dave Chappelle. He was sitting with a bunch of people. And I walked in, and Manny had the newspaper, and he was laughing. And I walked up to him. I was like, aren't you concerned that you're going to get shut down? And he goes, Brian, you can't buy publicity like this. He's like, he's not going to sue. He's using his son's blood for publicity. And he never sued. And I was like, wow. He used his own son's blood to publicize his brand. And that's where I learned a lot about comedy from Manny. Manny Dwarman was the best. Isn't that a great story?
That is unbelievable. I'm still processing it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
a pretty great
fucking story. Yeah. Holy shit, man. Yeah. Fucking, I hate hecklers.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't really. It's a little bit, probably less. It happens less now because now they'll just throw those guys out. You know what I mean?
It depends where you play. A lot of the rooms across the country side with the heckler. They'll side with. They want them to come back and buy onion rings next time. So if you're not famous, they'll side with them. A lot of places. There's places that won't have me back because I made fun of the heckler and the heckler complained. There's a comedy club here. I went on stage. I have this orgasm bit, and I go, "Woman, I'm making fun of farts. I was making fun of sneezes, and then I go orgasms." And some really pretty rich blonde woman said, "How would you know?" And I was like, "You're a cunt," and everyone laughed. And she complained, and I'm no longer allowed to play the room.
Really?
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah, this job can be quite depressing sometimes, but sometimes it's a lot of fun.
I love it. I'm actually going to be doing a show at the Federal Bar in North Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, it's upstairs, right?
Yeah, but they're doing them outside. So, okay. Yeah, December 3rd, I'm doing that. So it'll be the first time on stage since March 4th.
Wow.
So I get to do it all over again and suck. So
this job is constantly up and down. Like, we have to perform. If our cat dies, we have to perform. If our girlfriend dumps us, we still have to perform. And that drives you a little crazy. Now, every day is a different set, so it's up and down, up and down. But even the sets itself, one joke works, one joke doesn't. It's up and down the whole time. It's a constant roller coaster, and it drives you nuts. My best advice, this is what I wish somebody had told me, because Corona came, and I was successful at my job, so I didn't have a day job for 20 years. Now, thanks to Corona, I wish I did have a day job, because I have no experience to get hired anywhere else. I haven't worked since March, so I'm trying to get work as anything. So that's why I'm selling my book. I have a Patreon, with skits and interviews. So it's like anything I can do to try to bring in money, but I wish I had a day job. My best advice is perform 3-4 times a week and keep your day job because you don't know what's going to happen. And girls like a guy with steady money.
True. I'm a product of a marriage where my wife makes more money than me.
Good for you.
And I think she'll keep me around. I think she'll keep me around because we got 2 young boys. So
good. No, you trapped her. Good for you.
Yeah. Yes, I did. So Scolaro, you're Italian.
Yeah.
What Scolaro? What is? Where are you Sicilian? Nabliadan. I'm half Italian, half Irish, and my
I have some Irish in me too.
My roots are not Naples and Tuscany.
My three of my grandparents were Italian. One of them was from Sicily. Well, one of them was from Naples. And the third one, I don't really know. But there's a town called Positano in Naples. It was featured in the Ray Romano episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. It was in the movie Only You with Robert Downey Jr. and Marissa Tomei, who I love. Oh, I just wanted to slap me and yell at me. That's all I want.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, I love when girls yell at me. I just wish I could jerk off while they're yelling at me. You know what I mean? It's like, because it's like I want to turn that. I don't want to sit there and feel bad about myself. I want to use that somehow. So, you know what I mean? And they really don't like it when you start jerking off when they're trying to be serious. They don't like it. Anyway. Anyway, Positano was a fishing village, and it was right on. I can show the web. I guess I can move the webcam and show you, but I don't want it to freeze. But it's cool because it's a fishing village that became a resort. Now, there's a big chapel right on the water. Big chapel. I'm looking at it right now. There's a picture on my wall. And my whole life, I've been seeing the chapel. Then my mother went to visit Positano, and it turns out that's where my great-grandparents got married, in that chapel. So basically, my whole life, I was staring at the place where my family started and I had no idea.
Cool? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, wow. Holy shit, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was your biggest bomb? Do you remember like the biggest time you just ate like a bag of shit on stage?
Well, there's a few of them actually. The second time I ever performed was at my college in front of like 400 people. Keep in mind, I had to go to school with these people for another 3 years. And I had done stand-up in New York City, and I thought I could do it. They gave me a half hour, and I found out I could not. And then I was kind of confused for a while because comedy was my best friend. So I had to figure out that I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I should have concentrated more on the funny and not from, hey, look at me, not the attention. So I should have concentrated as a job. But, it was things that turned it around, like that insecurity and jealousy and anger that was caused by that, caused me to make it a career. And caused me to like get the #1 college television show, the #1 college radio show, and write a comedy column in the newspaper. So by the end of my senior year, I was kind of a celebrity on campus, But 3 years ago, I was like the laughingstock. But I turned it around, But my biggest bomb probably was at this club in Washington. I headlined there 4 times and was selling out more and more the more I went. I had a fan base there. It's an L-shaped room. So I'm performing here, and there's like an L-shaped room. So if somebody heckles over here, the people over here don't hear it. So the owner's wife's sister was heckling. It was her birthday. She was drunk and she was heckling.
Oh, the worst.
And they weren't going to tell her to shut up because it was their sister.
Right.
And she was literally doing this every time I spoke. And I was killing. So when I said, you got to stop, and I made fun of her, I made fun of her. After the 12th time, I was like, you got to stop. At this point, the other side of the crowd turned on me because they thought I was making it up. They wrote online that I must have been on drugs because I was imagining heckles. And the club said to me, you go out there and apologize. I was like, for what? I was like, that's your fucking sister. And then they called me and said it was their fault, but they're going to pretend it's my fault to keep the audience coming back. So they said people show up and they just let them say, but that guy was horrible. And they just let them say that because they don't want to tell them they fucked up. You know,
That's fucked up.
You better just,
damn.
And that's why I'm crazy.
Now, I'm sure over the years you've probably performed under the influence of something. Have you ever had that set?
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, did you ever have that set where you were just like, "Holy shit, I'm too fucked up," like an Artie Lang moment, if you will?
I was in Portland and somebody drugged me. They put something in my water. They put something in my tea, and it kept me up for 3 days.
Oh.
And I had to perform all weekend long with no sleep. I mean, it was like I had to look it up. It was like some kind of African herb or something that kept me awake for 3 days. I was on stage. I had no idea what I said that night, and I had to get on the plane. I hadn't slept yet. I was awake the whole weekend, and yet everything went fine. But I was not at the top of my game. I remember when I first started, I did ecstasy, and I was at Boston Comedy Club on stage, and I said, "Yeah, I'm on ecstasy right now." And then because I was really wasted, and I remember this Puerto Rican kid said to his girlfriend, "He is. Look at his eyes," and that stuck with me. Like I remember seeing that. I'll never forget it. But that, I usually don't perform drunk. I usually just take 2 drinks and perform.
Yeah. I never tried to. I'd smoke a little weed before, but
it's good to stay limber on stage because the hecklers will fuck up your rhythm. So rather than get angry, a little marijuana will be like, "Oh, okay, welcome to the show, weirdo."
Yeah, you welcome that a little bit more than if you're as opposed to being standoffish. Because I've been standoffish with a crowd of hecklers, and it did not work to my advantage. You know what I mean? They were louder than me, and I just could not shut them down. But like I said in the beginning of the interview, it seems like it's a little bit more friendly now to the comics. Like people kind of have respect, and like you said, it depends what room you're in.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with that sentence. It definitely depends on what room you're in, because I find it's worse. I used to go on the road, and there'd be one crazy show, and the other 4 would be great. Now, when there's a show with no heckles, I'm amazed. So, I go, wow, nobody fucking interrupted. Now, I come from the old school. We're watching Chris Rock and Letterman and Jay Leno and fucking Bill Cosby and George Carlin, where they presented their material, and then they left. The big difference is that's a theater. When you get into a comedy club, there's alcohol, and they think that they're helping. I'm like, you don't think you're helping. You want attention. I get it, But that's why Steve Martin quit. Steve Martin quit because people were constantly interrupting his rhythm. And George Carlin would perform in theaters. He wouldn't do clubs. He would do Comedy Magic in Hermosa Beach because it's like a theater, but he wouldn't do clubs. And that's why, it's like I believe in presentation. I'm not getting on an airplane to ask where you're from. But some guys love doing that, and I'm not stopping them. But everybody expects. I don't understand when people go to a comedy club and don't look up the comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't go see a country band. You wouldn't go see a band and go, "Oh, I hope they play rap." You would look them up first.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want to hear dick jokes, look up a guy. If you want to hear marriage jokes, if you want a crowd work guy, go to those guys. I'm presenting my bullshit. Anyway,
yeah. Did you ever do Caroline's?
Sure, yeah. There's a clip on my new album. It's called Then and Now, and because I haven't worked all year, so I released an album of my first act in 1995 and my most recent act in 2019. So it's called Then and Now. It's on it's everywhere. But half of the album is from my Caroline's set. I had a show at Caroline's that started my career. In one show, I got Montreal Comedy Festival, and I got my agent and my manager all in the same show. And I'll never forget it. It was a good show.
Yeah, I had the great actor Robert Finaro on the show a couple weeks ago. Did you know Robert when he was the doorman at Caroline's or no?
I heard that there was a doorman at Caroline's who was an actor, but I can't remember what he looks like.
Yeah, tall guy. He was on The Sopranos. Yeah, he was a great guy. Lot of good stories, but he was telling me, yeah, he was the doorman at Caroline's for years, and it was when Ray Romano. He was telling me Ray Romano couldn't even really get spots. They'd only give him like twice a month or something, and then all of a sudden he disappeared, and then he fucking came back, and he was Ray.
Caroline's didn't have a showcase format. They had like a headliner format, so it was hard to work there. I mean, it was the only club in the city that had a headliner feature opener, format. Well, the other clubs were showcase format. So, like, if you played Caroline's, you play there like once a year.
Gotcha. Yeah, last time I saw a show there, it was it had to have been like around 2007. I saw Artie Lang and Gino Bisconti, and I'm sure you know both of those guys. Yeah. Gino, absolutely fucking hilarious. Artie, of course, is great, but
Artie's fantastic. Yeah.
I don't see him anymore. I don't think really anybody really sees him much anymore.
I saw him last year.
Did you?
Yeah, he was really. He's a great guy. He's so nice.
So nice.
I remember I was complaining at the table about women, and he was like, "Why isn't that in your act?" And I was like, "Well, because half the audience is women." But he was like, he just gave me his phone number. I barely spoke to him, and he gave me his phone number. He was very, very giving, nice guy. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
My favorite clip of him is if you look up Don Rickles, Artie Lang on YouTube.
Yes.
There's clips. You've seen it? Where
Baby Gorilla?
Yeah, I think it's Dirty Work.
Yep.
And Don Rickles is making fun of Artie Lang's weight. He's tapping on stomach. Goes, "Hello in there, ice cream. Are you having fun rolling around in there?" And,
yes.
And they're both cracking up. It's so funny.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, he's like, oh, what? And then Norm starts laughing, and he goes, "What are you laughing at? That I called your friend a fat pig?" He goes, "You got the personality of a dead moth." Don fucking Rickles.
I love Don.
Holy shit, me too.
That special on Spike TV was great.
Yes,
the best Spike TV ever did. Besides the Three Stooges, that special at Apollo was fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. And then I think they did one on HBO called Mr. Warmth.
Yeah, I think it was John Landis.
Yeah, I think it was John Landis. That was a pretty good one too. I mean, anything Don Rickles is great.
I agree.
Talking about old school type stuff, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the Odd Couple movie or the TV show?
I think Tony Randall was one of the best. I think Tony Randall was one of the top 5 sitcom actors of all time, multicam sitcom actors. So I got to go with the show. As great as the movie is, what Gary Marshall did by changing it from single camera to multi-camera, he opened up Tony Randall's performance to a live audience, and it was phenomenal. I would say him and Shelley Long and Art Carney and probably Michael Richards and a few people are the top 5 I've ever seen. Michael J. Fox is pretty damn good too.
Great.
And John Ritter. There's some great performances, and it's like I DVR MeTV and Antenna TV because I love watching it. I'm watching news radio right now.
Oh, so good.
David Foley and Phil Hartman, when it's just the two of them, holy shit, it's funny. Like they take a comedy team, and Phil Hartman's like, I remember once in college we kidnapped this freshman and we put him in the trunk of a car. We abandoned him at a junkyard, and David Foley goes, and he goes, what? And he goes, did you let him out? And Phil Hartman just goes, I got to make a phone call. This is it's just so they're so good together, and it's like a comedy team. I wish he hadn't died. That show, the two of them were great together.
I mean, that was my era of watching SNL. I mean, I still watch, but when he was on SNL, like doing Bill Clinton and Frank Sinatra, oh my God, it was so. And when he did Ed McMahon, yes,
yes,
that's my fucking favorite, man.
I'm having a hard time lighting the cigarette.
Oh, yeah, I hate that. The worst is when you misplace a lighter and you need it.
I left it in the car. I left the good one in the car.
That sucks. Whoa. Earthquake.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good. Yeah, I mean, we'll wrap it up here in a few. I just kind of want to talk to you about some other stuff, maybe some movies. What tell me about how you got into some of the TV shows you did. Stacked. What was it like working with Pam in her prime?
It was great. She was. I hear an echo.
Echo in here.
I hear an echo from your. Oh, it's gone now. She was very, very giving. At first, she's aloof, but she's listening the entire time. And what I liked about her is that of everyone in the cast, I was the first one off book. You know what off book means?
Yeah, of course.
Memorize. She was second, and she was not really done comedy before, but she really liked Goldie Hawn, and would watch Goldie Hawn, and she was very, very giving. Like for example, she was doing the Jimmy Kimmel show, which tapes right down the street from me. And I was like, oh, I live right by there. She's like, oh, come down. So I came down, and they take the picture of you for the opening credits. Come out tonight, Pamela Anderson. They show a picture of her. She insisted they take a picture of me and her, and she kissed me on the cheek. And then they said, well, can we just have a picture of you now? She goes, no, use that one.
That's awesome.
Upsetting the people at the show. But it was awesome. Like that's how giving she is with her celebrity. I remember she said to me, keep in mind, this is 2005. She was sitting there. She goes, who's Ali G? And I go, why? Because Ali G was really popular at that moment. She goes, I don't know who he is, but they want me to do his movie. And I was like, do it. She was like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, call them right now and say I'll do it. And she did. And so that's why she's in Borat, because of me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I actually went to that premiere on Hollywood. Yeah, they shut down Hollywood Boulevard and they pulled him in with horse and carriage and all that shit. It was wild. I mean, it was a great premiere. So many people were there. I mean, I sat right next to Jimmy Kimmel.
He's a great guy.
And Will Ferrell, and who else? Will Ferrell. I combined Pharrell Williams.
Yeah. I was in Montreal Comedy Festival in 1998, and I asked people where I can get weed, and they brought me, for $100, they brought me weed the size of an arm, a forearm. And I couldn't finish it. I had to get on the airplane, but I had all this weed, so I just ate it. And I was so high, my head was like a balloon. And when I got in the van, I was sitting next to Jimmy Kimmel. And I had never met him before. This is before he had the TV show. He just did Win Ben Stein's Money.
Okay.
So I said, do I look high right now? And he goes, no. And he just moved away. He just kind of slowly moved away from me. It was very funny. He was like, no, you're fine. And he was like, okay, this guy, I'm getting away from this guy. But it was funny. And I went to going through the Montreal airport. They were like, oh, you got to pay to leave the airport. I'm like, what? And I turn around and there's a dog and puts his arm on my bag. And I turn around and there's two customs and I go, your dog's humping my bag. They go, yeah, well, follow us. And they were like, do you ever do drugs? And I'm like, sure. They were like, I was like, in the past, because in the past could be 5 minutes ago. And then they called over a female customs agent who looked through my bag and finding underwear with holes, a porno magazine. It was so embarrassing. And they couldn't find anything. And they were like, were you around weed? I was like, yeah, I'm a comedian. I'm around weed all the time. And they were like, all right, go. And it was pretty crazy. I was like only like 20, 22, 21. I was shitting myself.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but Pam Anderson's awesome. I don't know if you can tell, but most people don't know this about Pam. She's really big tits.
No, you think?
People, yeah, it's like Quado. They're like heads. It's like Quado from Puerto Rico.
Quaid. That's so fucking funny. Yeah, I actually just watched Total Recall, and then I watched the remake with Colin Farrell. I enjoyed it.
I didn't see the remake.
It's pretty good.
Fine. I mean, sometimes remakes are great. The remake of 310 to Yuma is better than the original.
I agree.
There's some remakes that are great, but mostly they're bad. I think a movie like Total Recall just pretty much did what it's set to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like 310 to Yuma didn't have the special effects they needed to do newer version. But Total Recall seemed like it was fine the first time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this one's a little different. I think from what I read, people said that it was more true to the short story that it was based on. So there's little things that are different, but it's definitely enjoyable. I don't even know why we're talking about this.
I don't know too, yeah, but I was not in Total Recall.
It's the ADD that I have. I
kind of took it to Montreal and Jimmy Kimmel. We went all over the place. But yeah.
That's so funny. So who I wanted to get, like, who is your favorite comic now? Like, that's a peer of yours. You know what I mean? That's
alive?
Yeah.
Alive?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, you got to be careful who you say, because so many guys got in trouble.
Well, give me 5 of them that you like, that you love.
First of all, there is no lighter in that box. Louis C.K.'s material is very similar to mine, so I tend to like his stuff a lot. I remember when I first started, I would write a joke, and then I would see Louis C.K. do it, and it was better. I'm like, oh, okay. It must have happened like 8 or 9 times. You know, something like, oh, this guy is very much like me, and he's better. He's faster and better. He's got more practice than I do, too. So I like Louis C.K.'s act. I like Brian Regan. I like the old guard. Jim Gaffigan did a joke on Instagram that killed me. He was talking about his wife wants him to go camping. She's like, well, camping's a tradition in my family. He goes, it's a tradition in everybody's family until houses were invented. He goes, like, outdoors is so good. Why are all the bugs trying to get into my house? And I thought it was so clean and so funny. I really respect comedians who do what I don't. And I'm a little more rough around the edges, and Jim Gaffigan and Brian Regan, they have all these clean jokes that are so well structured. I like Wendy Liebman. I like what's his name, man? Fucking Mark Maron. I love Mark Maron's long form bits where he'll talk 15 minutes and he'll get back to the original point. And I dig that a lot because I don't do that. So I like stuff that I don't do, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll throw some out there. I love Mark Maron. Mark Maron's one of my favorites for sure. So I agree with you there. A person that I'm a huge fan of and I would love to meet, it would be a dream to have him on this show, which he'll never do because he would never do it, is Dennis Miller. I love Dennis Miller. I
remember Dennis Miller on Saturday Night Live was phenomenal. He should never, when he did NFL, and everybody turned on. But I loved him, and I still do. I think also he's very supportive of people, and you know he like took care of his old friends and brought them on all of his shows. And I like Dennis Miller a lot. I've always liked him. When I Westbrook Music Fort, where I saw George Carlin, one year I went to see. This is back in the first year that Dana Carvey did SNL, and the lineup was Robert Schneider was the opening act. He wasn't on Saturday Night Live yet. And then it was Kevin Nealon, Dennis Miller, and Dana Carvey doing 20 minutes each. And the show was fantastic. Kevin Nealon, he did a Subliminal Man stuff. Dennis Miller did all politics, and it was great. It was back when audiences liked what you were giving them. Okay, maybe they didn't understand Dennis Miller's references, but there was more of like an openness to people that you didn't understand. Nowadays, it's like if a comedian doesn't speak your language, you're pissed. Not us, but, you know, people.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, back then, dumb people could watch Dennis Miller. And like, you know what I mean? It's not that way anymore. But that was a great show. I remember that.
Yeah, you know what? HBO Max now, they brag that they have everything that, all of HBO's shit archived. They don't have that fucking show. Nice.
They don't have that. They don't have the one that, Dennis Miller's fucking...
Yeah, the talk show, Dennis Miller Live. I loved it.
Wow.
I mean, he had so many great people on that. And it's like, I mean, I was always more of a Letterman guy than Jay Leno.
Yeah.
As far as show-wise.
Yeah.
But when that show came on, the Dennis Miller live show, I was like, I was 14, 15 years old, and I loved it. I look forward to it every Friday. Yeah. I think Tales from the Crypt came on after.
Yeah. I love Tales from the Crypt.
Me too. Great.
When the first episode of Tales from the Crypt featured William Sadler or Sadler. Yes. He played Death in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yep.
And he was in Shawshank Redemption. I just came in here to bid him fairly well.
Yeah. He's great.
And nobody knew who I was a big fan of his because he was in the first episode of Tales from the Crypt. So I have a weird memory like that,
Yeah, there was I think it was Tales from the Crypt it was an episode that had the great Tim Thomerson.
I love Tim Thomerson.
Where he was a comic and like something happened where at the end of the episode, he basically had to perform the same set every night and it was hell. It was in hell. So every night it was the same fucking thing. That was a great one.
That's clearly a comic wrote that because that's what the job is. I know you're excited about it because you're starting, but that's what you have to look forward to.
I'll take it.
I always love Bill Hicks. I love Bill Hicks's opening line. Bill Hicks goes, "Well, let's plaster on a fake smile and plow through this shit again."
That's great. So then two more of my favorite comics. Richard Jenny, rest in peace. Loved Richard Jenny.
I saw him a week before he died, and we were both depressed. And I wish now that I had cheered him up, but I was depressed too at the moment. But we talked about being depressed, and then a week later he died. But he didn't kill himself because he was depressed. He killed himself because he was kind of being paranoid.
Yeah, and then Mitch Hedberg, rest in peace.
Oh, I love Mitch.
So smart,
Yeah. If I have legs, I am not blocking a fire exit.
Yeah. I like the one.
I would not move.
I like the one when he goes, "I'm a stand-up comic, and I stay in a lot of hotel rooms when I'm on the road. So if I think of something funny and the pen is across the room, I need to convince myself that what I thought wasn't funny." So fucking great. Yeah, so brilliant.
It's he was like a stoner Stephen Wright. The two of them were probably the best at that short form.
Yeah, Stephen Wright's an interesting guy, man. I mean, I can't figure him out.
His Stephen Wright was excellent in short form. When he did Dangerfield specials, when he did Tonight Show doing 5-10 minutes, there was nobody better. No. Watching him in 45 minutes, I imagine you get a little bored. But it's his short form game, you can't beat it. He was terrific. He's like, one time, it's like my dental hygienist is really attractive. So in the waiting room, I eat a whole box of Oreo cookies. It's just funny.
Did you see the Comedy Store documentary?
I don't have Showtime.
It's great, man. Mike Binder did a great.
I think one thing that bothered me was I saw him interview people who aren't regulars. Oh, sorry. What's that? You froze. What'd you say?
Oh, I said in that documentary, Mike Binder's talking to Stephen Wright, and they're at the Comedy Store, and they're in the OR room, and he goes, "This is a room that people fear. It's one of the toughest rooms." And Stephen Wright just goes, "Why? Why? Why would it be difficult?" And I'm like, holy shit. I've only done the belly room a handful of times at the store, and I actually had my best sets there, and I was nervous as shit because it was the store.
Yeah. Well, the belly room is where they put the alt shows and the beginner shows. But the OR is, I never found the OR difficult. I think it's because I'd already been doing the Comedy Cellar for 6 years. So the OR to me was just the Comedy Cellar. It was just another version of the Comedy Cellar, smaller room. Like, I'm good at those smaller rooms. I know how to control those. Yeah. And the tourists and the LA people, they respect art. They don't interrupt. It's when you go to a small town. It's when you go to Dayton, Ohio, when they suddenly want to be in the show. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm coming to their town. Yeah. But people in LA, they're usually here because they want to be artists, so they shut up and they respect art. My favorite, one time I saw a heckler at the store. Tom Rhodes is on stage. Tom Rhodes has the kind of cadence where he gets to the punchline, and it's kind of like a rock musician, like Mitch Hedberg a little bit. And she heckles him, and he goes, "Oh, okay." He goes, "You might notice that I put on a little weight. That's because every time I fuck your mother, she gives me a cookie."
Yeah, I've seen Tom Rhodes.
The way he said it killed me. You know, the way he said it, that cadence killed me.
Yeah. Well, all right, Brian. Let's we'll wrap it up. I want to tell people to get the book,
please. Amazon, please,
and also to check out your stuff at your website, brianscolaro.com.
If you go to brianscolaro.com and you scroll down the homepage, all my albums and Patreon and book is there. My Patreon site features 3 videos a week, 1 skit, 1 stand-up, and an interview. I interviewed David Krumholtz from the Coen Brothers movies and David Higgins from the new show Be Positive and Malcolm in the Middle and Mike and Molly. And I interviewed Jeff Ross and Dave Attell. And it's all there, and it's a lot of fun. It's only $5. You can quit at any time. I haven't worked since March, so if you join, even for a couple of months, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I am going to join, and I'm going to buy your book. That's for sure.
Please do, man. Thanks a lot.
And I thank you so much for doing the show. I hope it wasn't. I hope it wasn't painful.
Nah. I wish I was a little more awake, but that was no problem. It was very. I've done shows that were painful, and this was not one of them.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm still figuring this shit out on the fly, man. I'm no Howard Stern.
Well, you're in this business. You meet somebody, and 9 times out of 10, they're delusional and crazy. And I was relieved to see that you weren't one of those people.
Well,
you know what I mean? I was like, there's actually a guy with a brain on his shoulders, and I was happy to meet you. We'll stay in touch.
We definitely will, Brian, and hopefully maybe I could be on a show with you sometime.
Yeah, let's see. That'd be great if people fucking hire me once in a while. I'll see you soon, James. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Brian. Take care, bud.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Brian Scolaro, man, he is great. God, some of those stories were fucking awesome. I cannot believe that Donald Trump Jr. story. Jesus, it's great. But yeah, check out brianscolaro.com. He's got that book, How to Punch a Monkey. Like he said, it's a great toilet read. Yeah, you know, so everybody have a good night, and yeah, stay positive and stay well. And, you know, go fuck yourself.